The reason Vanilla Barrens, and to a lesser extent TBC and Wrath Barrens, is remembered so fondly by Horde players and was so popular was because of a combination of bad planning and zone design by Blizzard. If you look at some of the earliest screenshots of WoW, you'll notice that almost all of it is Alliance zones and cities. And pretty much all Alliance zones were created before they worked on the Horde zones, leading many people to speculate that Blizzard just kind of ran out of time when it came to the Horde zones. And because of this, or maybe not, after all, there is no concrete proof, but what is undeniable that for a lot of various different reasons, if you were Horde, you were going to end up in the Barrens eventually. In Vanilla, there was no dungeon finder, and the low-level dungeons themselves could take anywhere from 1 to 4 hours to complete, if you did manage to get a group together. So those were out of the question if you wanted an alternative to quick leveling. Battlegrounds did not start giving experience until late in Wrath of the Lich King, mining and herbalism didn't give experience either, and obviously pet battles weren't a thing back then. So all the alternative routes that exist today to leveling just weren't there. The only way to efficiently get XP was to grind mobs or quest. The Barrens was basically a funnel point for 3 of the 4 playable races in Horde. After their starting zone, Tauren, Trolls, and Orcs were naturally led through the Barrens, and even Undead would travel there sometimes rather than deal with Silverpine Forest or Terran Mill. The zone itself was massive, probably one of the biggest zones ever in the entire game. It also had only 3 flight paths, and even less graveyards. 1 flight path in Ratchet, 1 at the Crossroads, and a 3rd at Camp Taurajo. The flight path from Ratchet to the Crossroads was an extremely short flight, but the one from the Crossroads to Camp Taurajo was the most useful one, and even then, those 3 flight paths covered only a very small portion of the map, so you had to run everywhere. At that time, you didn't get a mount until level 40, and Old Barrens was notorious for sending you to all the very far corners of the zone for questing, so you were running marathons for everything. In addition, it also had the largest level range of any zone, spanning 15 levels. So you pretty much had to go to the Barrens. You stayed there for a long time, and you had to do very long, boring runs to get to quests. On top of some of the quests being infamous for being awful. Mancrick's wife being one, and probably the most known quest in WoW. The Venture Coast Amaflange quests, the terrible escort quest, Free from the Hold, and collecting 4 zebra hoofs with a very low drop chance, and various other similar low drop chance gathering quests. The Zebra, a quest that required you to do one simple little task. Go out into the Barrens and kill zebra for 4 hoofs. Not so bad, right? I mean, each zebra has 4 hoofs, don't they? Well, actually no, because this quest, if you focused on it, and only it, would take you about an hour to complete. The problem with the quest was twofold. 1, there were not a lot of zebras, and they liked to roam alone. And 2, they had a really low chance to drop the hoofs. So you had to go around and hunt down these little bastards, and then hope the RNG gods were on your side when you finally found one. Lost in Battle, one of the most infamous quests ever. The objective was simple: find out what happened to Mancrick's wife. Only this was in the time before there was a vast, readily available database of information. So in order to find his wife, you'd have to dig through pages of comments and message boards or forums, since her body was not in an obvious location. Mancrick gave you the quest here, and his wife's body is over here, just randomly to the side of the road, not near any other quests, and very far away from Mancrick. The easiest way to find out where Mancrick's wife was to simply ask in chat. And Barrens being the most populated zone in those days, you had plenty of people more than willing to help you locate Mancrick's wife. But after the question has been asked for maybe the 10th time in the past 30 minutes, people would start giving not so serious answers, which would then devolve into more off-topic discussions, most of which involving various links to certain legendary weapons, and the tales and exploits of one known as Chuck Norris. Barrens chat. If Barrens isn't remembered for its terrible questing experience, because really I could go on and on about some of the other really terrible quests in the zone, the Barrens chat is what Trade Chat started out as. Random trolling, anal theory, blessed blade of the Windseeker, and other various in-jokes and memes. And since so many Horde players spent so long in this one zone, running very slowly all over the place because it was massive, and only had 2 relevant flight points, you had a lot of free time to chat while auto-running to the crossroads. And that is why Barrens is remembered, for Barrens chat, and its incredible leveling experience. Oh, and also Alliance raids. The Barrens chat might have been full of memes and childish trolling, but it was also full of the crossroads is under attack, since it seemed like the crossroads were always under attack. So, why were the crossroads always under attack? Well, for a number of reasons. For one, the Alliance knew that there were a lot of Horde players in the Barrens. And not only that, but low-level Horde players. The Barrens also had a very crucial geographical flaw that Alliance zones of similar level did not have. Ratchet. This little city was neutral, had a boat to the Eastern Kingdoms, and a very short run to the Crossroads, which was nearby. The Crossroads is also where a majority of the quest givers were located, so just simply taking the easy and convenient boat to Ratchet, and running leisurely into the Crossroads and pulling the guards one by one, since at this time guards did not all Zerg attackers like they do today, a small group of max-level Alliance players could hold the Crossroads hostage for quite some time. And why not? It was easy to do. And you were almost guaranteed to get a few lowbie trolls, orcs, or taurens try and fight you because they didn't know any better. So it was easy pickings. Until the max-level Horde players came in to clean house. The Crossroads was a site of constant world PvP. Depending on your server, there could be a couple of small-scale battles taking place every day. The only reason the Barrens isn't more well known for its world PvP is because it's already infamous for a whole host of other things, that this aspect of it kinda gets overshadowed. And don't get me started on the landscape. The landscape of the zone. It's alright actually. Landscapes are a very subjective thing to discuss, and many people have fond memories of the barren wasteland that they spent weeks, maybe even months leveling through. Personally, I was never the biggest fan of the zone's aesthetics, but it could look very cool at times. In Cataclysm, with the remake of the old world, the Barrens was cut in half and turned into 2 leveling zones, and each zone is about the same size as other regular size zones, which should tell you something about just how huge the old Barrens was. If splitting it in half made each new zone only normal sized. And with the splitting of the zone, most of the old qualities of Vanilla Barrens are gone. You no longer need to stay in any zone for very long with all the alternative ways to level. And with Dungeon Finder being available at level 15, most players totally skip it altogether. So Barrens chat isn't even a thing anymore. Blizzard fixed pretty much all the old quests to no longer be absolutely terrible. So no more spending an hour killing zebras for 4 hoofs. And guards in low-level towns are actually a threat now. So it's not as easy to take the Crossroads as it once was. So world PvP is almost non-existent there anymore. With Blizzard making changes to the zone to fix its many problems, they got rid of what made it unique. But that's not always a bad thing. Sure, we'll never have the old Barrens again, because most of the things that made it such a heavily traveled zone were because of bad zone design. So would you even want that again? Is it better to have a good zone that's kind of forgettable that hardly anyone goes to? Or a bad zone that everyone's forced to go to? Because that's what Old Barrens was.